you mentioned a couple points on GPOs, which I find really interesting. Do you see that GPOs, like your Genesis facilities are very compliant with the GPO offerings, or to your point, is it kind of facility by facility can test and try things as they want to? How does that compliance relationship work with the GPOs?
No, again, generally not speaking about Genesis, but generally in the industry, GPOs are really good in certain categories. And so if you were a pharmacy distributor and you went to the GPO, historically it's very difficult to get folks to change who their pharmacy supplier is because there's so many barriers to exit and entry. If you are a medical equipment company, if you're involved kind of in the clinical space, medical devices, they tend to be a lot more beneficial to go through the GPO because the GPOs can help you standardize that level of compliance. There is a tool out there called DSSI. It's an e-commerce tool. It's kind of like Amazon for the skilled nursing facility industry that folks use in order to maintain controls. So to drive that level of compliance, to ensure that folks are buying the right cut of turkey, to make sure that they're ordering the right bed, they're getting the right medical supplies, even down to the right pens and pencils. It's very controlled. And so the bigger the company, the more controlled that process is. There's certainly compliance leakage and things like that. And there's a lot that goes outside the system. Now, again, I'll learn a little bit more about the product that you might be referencing. But if it goes outside the system, the way to drive compliance historically is to manage that level of communication to the CED, which is the executive director at the building. Make sure that they know that this is a national partner, this has been clinically tested, this is evaluated, this is preferred, this has got the rubber stamp of approval, and if you guys use something else, it could put the company at risk. So that's all how it works. Now, there is leakage, there are opportunities for improvement, and ultimately what you have is these executive directors, as I mentioned before, they're the CEOs of their world, and if they see a better way to do things, the way that I've seen this trend over time with less and less overhead and less layers, they're given that flexibility to be decentralized. So it's not it's not without its challenges to manage compliance, but there are certainly mechanisms.
Got it. So do you, I'm trying to make sure I understand the right way that this works. So at corporate, do you pick a list of standardized products, or these category managers maintain a list of standardized products, and that's pushed out to every chain? Or are there regional standardization? Or is it more of here's a list of 10 that we've tested and proven, each facility is really it's up to them what they pick? How does that standardization work from the top down?
From the GPO or from the company's perspective?
Let's just talk from the company's perspective, not from the GPO.
From the company's perspective, there's usually some type of evaluation and decision, and then ultimately clinical operations, supply chain, everybody gets behind the product. And if it's a product that can be ordered via an e-commerce site, it's hard coded into the e-commerce site, and that's the formulary option that people have available at the center level. And it's very difficult to order around it and not to order it. If it is not a widget but a service, there's communications and protocols and compliance webinars, all the good communication protocols that any company would use to make sure that folks know, the contracts that you've negotiated and the formularies that exist. But tools and systems definitely help. So are you thinking about a product line that is kind of a service or something that can be ordered online, for example?
I think it's a great question. We're the people that we're representing are still figuring it out. So I would say the ingoing assumption is that there would be a